What is a Catholic take on depression? One of the holiest people to date that I've ever met in my life and been privileged to know is a woman who has diagnosed clinical depression. And she's had this for years. She's been hospitalized multiple times. And I've been privileged again to be able to walk with her through some of this. And I asked her at one point straight up, what is it like to suffer from clinical depression? And she said the following: it's like I have a giant weight attached to everything I do. Even my emotional state. It feels like I'm dragging my emotions along with this huge weight behind them. Even moving my body, getting out of bed in the morning, is like a huge weight, is I'm pulling it along. So brushing my teeth, it's like a victory of the day just to get my teeth brushed. These are symptoms in a very deep way of clinical depression. In clinical depression, it's not like just a prolonged sadness or like a negative attitude on life. It's something rather complex. It's a complex illness of the mind. And this is really where it's quite distinct from just little casual ways of saying, oh, I've had a bad day, or I'm really feeling sad today. It's really something quite complicated. And there are typically at least five symptoms that a person has to have over the course of 2 weeks in order to even have the resemblance of clinical depression. So it's something quite serious. But many, many people can struggle with clinical depression. And so one of the most difficult things about it is it still has a little bit of a stigma behind it. So, when you have something wrong with your body, a broken leg or something, it's quite visible. People can kind of immediately intuit that you have a broken leg. But with depression, someone could be struggling so intensely with, say, suicidal ideation, and you might not never know it unless they said something about it or communicated to you what it is about. So this can kind of lend itself to a very hidden but deep suffering for many, many people. What are we to do, or what is someone to do if they actually struggle with clinical depression? Well, at least three things. As Catholics, we understand that God is simple, but we are rather complex. And so the what to do question should have a multifaceted aspect to it. So the first is to have a good therapist. Second is to have a strong community, good relationships and friendships surrounding us. And third is some spiritual direction or pastoral counseling to help us walk in the light of Christ. So the first, just having a good therapist, not only is it not a bad thing to have a therapist if one struggles with mental illness of any kind, especially depression, it's a profoundly good thing. We need a good therapist, certainly, to help us with the appropriate amounts and kinds of medications to bring our chemical imbalances into balance. A good therapist will actually really help the negative mental tapes that someone with clinical depression can be playing inside their mind, especially with things like suicidal ideation and just a very dark attitude to life. These are things quite out of their control. Many people with clinical depression will say that the thoughts dictate my life, not the other way around. And so it's something quite real that we need serious help in. The second area that we want a multifaceted approach is a strong community or good relationships, good friendships. This can be precisely what can be so difficult with people struggling with depression, is because it's so much work to build relationships when, again, it might feel like they're actually carrying around this gigantic weight in even speaking to other people. So this is especially where we want to, as we who might not struggle with clinical depression, really want to be seeing people in their disguise of holding their pain. Like we might not know what they have, but we want to try to build a community such that they can be supported whoever they are. This is especially the case, maybe you've heard the old saying, be kind to everyone you meet, because everyone is fighting a battle. If we knew that someone close to us was struggling with something that deep and dark, why would we not do everything we could to help them? So we should treat everyone with great kindness, even if we don't know what they're carrying, because everyone is fighting a battle. Third is, especially with someone struggling with clinical depression, we would want to have some spiritual guidance or spiritual direction or some kind of pastoral counseling to be able to pray into this. It's not something we can pray away. That's not the point. but it's something that we want to encounter Christ in the midst of our suffering. We need hope. Hope is oxygen for the soul. It keeps us going. And if we don't have hope in the future, we just don't have any power in the present. And so walking with good spiritual guidance can help us live with that oxygen of the Lord is with me. He has not forgotten me. And there actually can be a reason to continuing to live in the dignity of life that God has given me. God bless you.